Hey Jadal Yakuter, hope you're doing well, and today we're back with some more Minecraft Dungeons, and today I want to be trying your guys' Minecraft Dungeons builds. So about a week ago, I made a community post on my channel that I basically asked for your guys' builds that you use, because I wanted to try them out. So here it is. Also, before we get started, two things real quick is one, I'm going to try to say your names as I read out your build, but I'm super terrible with names, so if I totally slaughter your name, I'm really sorry, but you should know who you are. And second thing is I'm not going to be using the enchantments that some people said, because some people told me what enchantments they have, which is nice, and I would like to use them, but this video would take months and months to make if I tried getting all the enchantments just how they are. So sadly, I won't be able to do enchantments, but I will think about the enchantments that they listed. Okay, so first off, the first loadout we have is from Diamond Dynamite, and they're using the Splendid Robe, Fighter's Bindings, Ironhide Amulet, Harp Crossbow, Death Cap Mushroom, and Lightning Quiver. So pretty solid. I do like it. I still don't know how I feel about Fighter's Bindings. I think they're pretty good because they attack so quick, but at the same time they don't do lots of damage, so I don't know, kind of a trade-off, but mine here are pretty insane. Artifacts I think are pretty good because the Death Cap and Ironhide I think mix pretty well with the Fighter's Bindings, because obviously Ironhide's going to give you some more defense, so you can use those Fighter's Bindings a little bit better. The Thundering Quiver with the Harp Crossbow, at least my Harp Crossbow, is just insane. The Splendid Robe is also pretty good. The artifact damage is super helpful for the Thundering Quiver, and the artifact cooldown and melee damage is good for both the Fighter's Bindings and getting your Death Cap back quicker, so that's pretty interesting. And so for all these loadouts, I'm just going to be going into Soggy Cave just real quick. I think I'm going to keep all of them one below recommended power level because all my gear is at the same power level, and I don't want my gear power level affecting anything, so I basically just want it to be based off the loadout. So I think I'll do it one below recommended, that way it kind of stays even, and I guess I'll go see how this does. I'm going to try to use Fighter's Bindings because I do like them, and I do think they are pretty good, but I also know the Harp Crossbow is insane, so if I wanted to I could just run this whole level just using the Harp Crossbow because that's how crazy it is, but I do want to use the Fighter's Bindings a little bit. They're going kind of crazy right now. And the radiance, double radiance on these things go kind of crazy. Like, I did not die there. Like, I got kind of low, but then the radiance came in clutch and just healed me all the way. Yeah, my armor's a low level, so that's probably part of the reason why I keep dying, is because I'm on a pretty high difficulty, but my armor's a little bit lower of a level, so I don't think I'd be dying as much. But I think that gave me what I needed to know about that loadout, and I'd say it's actually pretty good. I like it. I don't know, I still have mixed feelings about the Fighter's Bindings because I like, you know, stuff like my Starless Knight where it does lots of damage at once. But the Fighter's Bindings, at least these ones with their double radiance, were actually pretty crazy. They kept me alive a good amount of the time. Overall, I'd say this loadout is pretty good, and I guess I'll rank it. I guess I'll just say, like, I don't know. I don't trust these rankings because I honestly haven't played with them a lot, and I need to play with them a lot more to give them a fair ranking. But I'd probably say B or A tier for this one. Okay, next loadout we have is from Paper Yap, and they have the Full Metal Armor, Purple Storm, Encrusted Anchor, and for their artifacts they have the Gong of Weakening, Ironhide Amulet, and the Death Cap Mushroom, so pretty good. They also listed their enchantments, but like I said, sadly I don't have the time and the gold to keep re-rolling these to try to get it. So I will keep that in mind. I will think of how the enchantments would combo with this, but it's just going to be stock items for now. So I've said it before, but I'm not the biggest fan of the Encrusted Anchor, but that's also, to be honest, I haven't used it a lot. The one time that I did use it, it was in the tower, and it had Echo on it, which made me really hate it because Echo kind of just screwed me over in a lot of situations. I haven't really used the Purple Storm either that much. I've used it like a few times, but honestly, not one of my go-tos, so this loadout's pretty new to me, to be honest. I will say Death Cap can never go wrong with the pairing of any weapon because the faster attack speed is great, especially on weapons where you attack a little bit slower with the Encrusted Anchor, so definitely a win. So this build definitely seems to be on the tankier side. Like, I feel like the focus more for this one is just people with tank damage, which is good. I don't love the Purple Storm, to be honest, because it's weird because you can still pull it back, so it's not like an auto crossbow, but it's like you don't pull it back as far. So I never know how to use these bows. I'm kind of like, do you spam it or do you like pull it back a little bit? So kind of always throws me off. I will say the AoE attack damage on the Encrusted Anchor is pretty crazy. Okay, so that is Soggy Cave done. And just a few things that I will say about this loadout is, one, the Encrusted Anchor is pretty good. Does lots of damage, some pretty good AoE damage. But without the Deathcap Mushroom, I would say that it's not very good just because it attacks so slow. Like, it attacks really slow. Second thing I'll say is that with my loadout, as is right now, like this one, the Deathcap Mushroom doesn't come back in time to use it right away again, which is a little bit sad. But they do say they do have the cooldown enchantment, which will let the artifacts come back quicker, so I think it probably evens out a little bit better if I would have had that. They also have protection, which is pretty good, and deflect on the armor, which would go kind of crazy. Second thing I'll say about this is the bow. I don't really love because, like I said before, I don't know if I should pull it back or just shoot it, because if you pull it back, you obviously get the extra damage. But I don't know, it's like the timing is kind of weird to pull it back all the way, and like I feel like it's better just spam it. I don't really know, but there are some enchantments that they have on it, like multi-shot and overcharge, that would make it pretty good. Overall though, I'd say this loadout is pretty good, especially if I had the enchantments that they have. I'd say that this is probably an A tier loadout, and I could even see it maybe being S. I don't know. Like I said, take the rankings with a little bit of grain of salt, because like I said, I only play one level with these loadouts, and I'd really like to play more to get like an actual good ranking, but just kind of like my first impressions, that's my ranking. Okay, up next we have a loadout from Darce, and they said it's basically the same as mine, but instead of the Titan's Shroud armor that I normally use, they said they have a Stalwart armor. So let's just equip this real quick. And honestly, I don't really know if I need to test this one, because obviously I've played with this loadout a lot, and I don't feel like armor, at least for this loadout, affects it a lot. I mostly just use this one because it gives lots and lots of health. So that's kind of the main reason for using this armor. And I will say the Stalwart armor is pretty similar. You get damage reduction, chance to negate damage, and potions boost defense, which is pretty good. So I'll jump into Soggy Cave just real quick. I probably won't play through the whole thing because, like I said, I've basically used this loadout a lot. Just gonna go get a feel for kind of what the armor's like. Alright, this armor, not very good. I'm just kidding. It's mostly because it's underpowered, really underpowered for the difficulty I'm playing on. So if I don't keep my distance, I'm kind of screwed. So yeah, maybe I should have lowered the difficulty a little bit more, but oh well. But this loadout, you know, seems pretty good. And I'm saying that because it's basically my loadout. So honestly, probably another B or A tier. Probably, honestly, I'd probably give this armor or this loadout like a solid, I don't know, probably A tier or S tier. Depends on the armor and what enchantments you have on it. But overall, like it. You can never go wrong with a good old harp crossbow, to be honest. It's crazy. Okay, our next loadout is from Ethan, and they use the Renegade armor, the Cursed Axe, the Void Collar, and then for their artifacts they have Gong, Iron Hide, and then Death Cap, which is the same as another one, a previous loadout that we tried. So pretty interesting. I feel like maybe I should use the Gong of Awakening more, because I'm starting to see it used a lot, but I hardly ever use it, so I'd be interested. Maybe it's better than I think. I don't know. So to be honest, I haven't really used any of these items that much before, because I don't know, just haven't really used them, but I do think they are quite interesting. Yet again, they list enchantments, and the enchantments that they list would actually go pretty crazy. They do say that they hardly ever use their bow unless it's for healing or grouping mobs together, and emeralds. Yet again, this seems like another a little bit tankier build with this armor and with the Iron Hide and whatnot. But honestly, I don't know how to feel about this armor yet, so let's get into Soggy Cave. Also, I keep saying armor, I mean loadout. Let's get in here and try it out, because to be honest, this loadout will be pretty new to me. So first I'm going to try the bow. Pretty mid, but at the same time I'm probably pretty underpowered for it, so yeah. And also, bows can swing pretty drastically on how good they are depending on the enchantments. Also, Cursed Axe goes kind of crazy. I like it, especially with Death Cap, is pretty good. I will say though that this build I think would be a lot better if I had the right enchantments on the bow at least, because with tankier builds like this, you always need something that can heal you, because you're always going to be getting in close and taking lots of damage. So having something that can heal you like a bow, I can definitely see how that would be very helpful. Yeah, so overall, this axe would actually be pretty crazy if I had the enchantments that I had. So definitely... Oof. Okay, yikes, that was tough. So I don't feel like this axe is great for crowd control, and I don't think they're bows either, so, you know, a little bit trickier for crowd control situations like this one, I'd say, for this loadout. The exploding on the axe helps a little bit, but yet again, you have to kill a mob for that to work, so it can be a little bit tricky. I think also got pretty unlucky here with the RNG. Lots of enchanted mobs, and slimes are kind of crazy if you don't have a way to take them down quick. Though I do think I got a pretty good feel for the loadout, and I would say honestly probably an A tier, and especially if I had the enchantments that they had, I would say it's an S tier, but the only thing I feel like that might be holding it back from S tier is the bow. Yeah, again, if I had the enchantments they had, I feel like maybe that would change. But this bow, I don't know, even with the enchantments they have on it, I don't know, I feel like there's maybe a better bow that they could use, maybe one better suited for crowd control, like the harp crossbow, possibly. Because, I don't know, the cursed axe is okay for crowd control, it does pretty good damage, but as you saw there with like all the slimes and stuff, it just wasn't enough. Maybe with the enchantments it is, I don't know, but still, even with the bow and whatnot, pretty solid. I'd say A tier, possibly even our first S, but I don't know. Okay, our next loadout is from Klaus, and I think their loadout is probably on a little bit lower level of the side because they have the Great Hammer, not a unique, which is fine. They also said the Power Bow, there we go, normal Power Bow. They have the Renegade Armor, and then they have the Corrupt Beacon, Soul Healer, and Harvester. So one thing that I will say right off the bat, pretty good artifacts, but none of their items that they're currently using have anything to do with souls. So like they don't have like a soul bow, soul armor, anything like that, which would give them extra soul gathering. But like I said, I think this loadout is a little bit in the early stages of being built, because obviously, you know, they only have one unique, which is fine. You know, early game builds are tough. And you know, their items don't complement each other very well, so you know, that leads me to believe that this is in the earlier stages of a loadout, which is fine. So let's get into Soggy Cave. Great Hammer, not a fan of, especially because it's, you know, not being a unique makes it tough, but also just the hammers in general I don't love. I don't think they're the best in the game. Alright, well, I don't know, I would say that this build is probably C or D tier, and like nothing against the items really. Well, I guess kinda, but honestly, I would say it's mostly because it does seem like this is a lower level loadout, which is fine because, you know, lower level stuff and like non-unique items are never gonna beat, you know, the unique items, just because unique items are, you know, better. That's why they're unique. If I had to give one piece of advice though, if you like these artifacts, then definitely try to get some, you know, soul weapons or soul armor. And I get it if it's like, these are your highest level items and you're just like trying to always use the highest level things, that way you're higher power level, that's fine. But at the same time, you know, you can maybe use the forge, especially if you find a unique, you know, soul item. If you really like these soul artifacts, then, you know, with soul artifacts, you always need lots and lots of souls to use them, which, you know, is not my favorite thing. That's why I don't use them very often. But if you are going to use them, then definitely get your hands on some better soul gathering stuff. Okay, our next loadout is from the Best Dressed Gamer, and they have the Renegade Armor, the Nameless Blade, Imploding Crossbow, and then for their artifacts, they have the Gong of Weakening, Tonal Regeneration, and Deathcap Mushroom. Also, they did add their levels to like what power level their items were, and this is yet again a little bit earlier build because their power level is only 136, like ish, on most of these power level wise. But this one seems a little bit more put together. They also listed their enchantments, which do seem pretty good. Like they have rapid fire on the imploding crossbow, which I think would go, you know, pretty good pairing with it because it does shoot pretty slow, the imploding crossbow. So rapid fire, you know, would definitely help. They also have accelerate, which would also help with that. I do think though that instead of maybe chain reaction, well, I don't know, chain reaction's pretty good on it. Though I would say that the imploding crossbow uses lots of arrows, so if you didn't know, you know, bows have different arrow counts. So like this one, 13, but if I go to this one, then I have 52, because like they have different, I don't know, power levels, I guess. There's not a great way of explaining it, but you get different amounts of arrows for like how many you pick up. So I think on the floating crossbow, if you like it, then infinity could be worthwhile, because, you know, you'll be getting lots of arrows back. So could be worthwhile looking into that, trying to get it. Yet again, seems like a little bit beefier of a build, and I think the Tome of Regeneration pairs well with that, because some of the problems that I have with these tankier builds is if you don't have a way to get health back, then I don't love it, because then you're just running into battle and then you have no way to get your health back, which kind of sucks. Okay, yeah, definitely a little bit tougher with enchanted mobs. Also, I like the imploding crossbow because it works pretty good for crowd control, which is a plus. Okay, one thing that I will say about this loadout is that it looks like on their armor, they would normally have Reckless, Cowardice, and Final Shout, which, you know, isn't bad. I don't know about Final Shout on it, because these artifacts, I don't know. I don't feel like are super good for Final Shout, but I don't know. Also, I don't use that enchantment very often. I do feel like cooldown on this armor would be pretty good, so you could use your Death Cap Mushroom more often. Would be pretty helpful. Oh, dang it, I just pressed the button for my health potion. I just barely didn't get it off. I will say though, that loadout seems pretty good. I like it. Overall though, I'd say pretty good. I didn't have a chance to use the bow a lot, but I think if I did have their enchantments on it, it would be pretty good. So I'd probably say like high B tier, maybe even creeping into A a little bit. Okay, our next loadout is from Heart's Fan, and they are using the Frost Slayer, Frostbite, and the Harp Crossbow, and then for their artifacts, they're using the Death Cap Mushroom, Thundering Quiver, and Gong of Weakening. Yet again, Gong of Weakening. Maybe I'm slacking on it. Maybe I should use it a little bit more. I keep on seeing it. I will say though, you can never go wrong with a good Harp Crossbow. Also, Frostbite is pretty crazy because the Snowball unique enchantment is, you know, pretty crazy. Frostbite is one that I haven't really used a lot because it's a special event unique item, but it is pretty good. It has the Sharpness unique enchantment, which is pretty good. It's a Claymore, so it does more damage. Also, love the look of the Frostbite with the Frost Slayer sword just together. Looks super cool. Love the look. Also, they use a Saber Ring for bosses, which, you know, can do lots of damage, so not bad. I'm not going to test the Saber Ring because that's, you know, I'm just running like the everyday loadout type thing. So, though the Saber Ring does seem pretty cool, though I think it's pretty enchantment reliant, and like I said, can't get all the enchantments right now, so I'm not going to worry about it. One thing I will say about this loadout is it actually seems pretty good just from the overall look of it. I like it. Obviously, love the Harp Crossbow, and I have used the Frostbite armor quite a bit because it's pretty good. The Snowball Companion is actually pretty crazy, and the Frost Slayer attacks pretty slow. It also sounds sick when you attack, by the way, but I definitely think the Death Cap Mushroom will help with that a lot. One thing I will say about this loadout is that on the Harp Crossbow, they say one of the enchantments is looting, which I think is okay. It just increases the drop for like a consumable, which, you know, isn't bad. I do think, though, with the Harp Crossbow, you'd probably benefit more from an Infinity, because like on mine, the Infinity for stuff, especially like the Lightning Quiver or the Thundering Quiver, can go pretty crazy because normally you get 5 arrows, but look, I used that 1 arrow twice, so I think Infinity, especially on the Harp Crossbow, goes pretty crazy. Okay, well, that's Saga Cave done. I will say that this loadout is probably an S tier. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. Not only does it look sick, like together with these two, like you have the Frostbite and the Frost Slayer, which just go together so well, which, you know, style points are always going to add you a little bit extra because it, you know, if you look sick, then it's like even better. But also, just like the combos together, you know, pretty good. You never go wrong with a Harp Crossbow, like I've said before. Also, just like the armor and the sword together go together. What? I've said together way too many times there. They go together pretty well, especially if I had the enchantments that they had. Alrighty, our last and final loadout is from Arian, and they're using the Renegade armor, which is pretty common, which makes sense. It's pretty good. The Whirlwind and the Lightning Harp Crossbow. They're using the Gong of Weakening, which is, yet again, also pretty common. Firework Arrow and Death Cap. This one is also on the, like, I would say more of the beginning loadout stages, because they're only power level 162, which means, you know, they obviously have more room to grow and, you know, change their loadout. But this loadout seems pretty good. I will say the Whirlwind, pretty crazy with the death cap. I mean, the attack speed is pretty insane. They also would normally have swirling on it, which would also make it even better, and critical hit and leeching, which is pretty good. And their lightning harp crossbow would have multi-shot and chain reaction, which would make it a lot better. I will say the multi-shot will help a lot. Okay, pretty good so far. I will say, like I've said with the other builds, this build would probably benefit from some cooldown. Oh, I'm gonna die. For the death cap mushroom, so you get it back a little bit quicker. Also, if I had leeching on this, this would help a lot for my sword. I would say though that some radiance would also maybe go crazy on this. These slimes are, yeah, they kill me. That's fine. Also, one other thing is that they have power on their lightning harp crossbow, which is pretty good. But I think maybe an infinity would work pretty good as well, because I'm a sucker for infinity, because you can use like a firework arrow 2 or 3 times in a row, which, you know, is always going to be pretty crazy. Pretty good overall. I would say this loadout is probably, I don't know, if I had their enchantments and stuff, probably a B tier, like high B tier, like close to A, I would probably say. Overall pretty good, but I think it does have a little bit of room for improvement. There we go. I've now ranked every loadout that I got, and if you want to see another video like this, then leave your loadouts in the comments of this video, or you can go back to the community tab in my channel, leave some more comments under that community post. Either way, I'll hopefully see them. And I know there are some loadouts in previous videos which I forgot about, but I'll look back over and see if I can see any more loadouts. And, you know, if I have enough loadouts to make another video, then I'll make another video. But sadly, that'll have to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new, I appreciate if you subscribe. If you like the video, new videos every Thursday, and remember to stay jolly.